Zach Laws of Gold Derby here with Elizabeth Yianni-Georgiou. She is the makeup and hair artist who turned Taron Egerton into Elton John for Rocketman. Let me start off by asking you this, Elizabeth. Having met Taron and having seen Elton John X number of times over my life, the two don't exactly look alike. So I wonder, what was the biggest challenge for you in having to take Taron and turn him into Elton?
It was a big challenge. Obviously, Elton's got a huge fan base, so I was very aware of how we need to please them and keep them on track. But I was also very aware that I shouldn't overload Taron with huge amounts of makeup, because it was a very sort of a role where he'd be dancing and bouncing off pianos and sort of, we had to then sort of age him through 4 decades. So there was a lot of work to do. So when I first met Elton, I kind of looked at him carefully to sort of see if there was anything that I could take from that meeting and put on Taron that would actually make it stand out without, and a lot of my makeup is very subtle, but obviously helps to make Taron look closer to Elton. Basically, I was looking for an essence of Elton, but I think we went further than that.
Mm-hmm. So, I just want to dig into that a little bit more. In capturing the essence of Elton, obviously, you've got like hundreds of hours of video of him performing and, all that stuff. What were some little things about him that you notice that you said, okay, these are the things that we have to use in order to capture that essence?
Well, I knew that the glasses were going to sort of take up a lot of Taron's face, so I had to then work around the fact that these big glasses were going to sort of be quite prominent. And so what I noticed when I first met Elton was how sort of heavy his eyebrows are, and then I went back and had a look at a lot of the photos, and I just looked at Taron's eyebrows, and they're really, really fine. And I felt that would, if I made those eyebrows sort of heavier and closer to Elton's, that would help to sort of bring Taron's eyes closer to sort of what Elton's would look like. And that also, eyebrows really sort of help to sort of shape and frame the face. So that was my first starting point. That was the first thing that I noticed. The second thing was that lovely tooth gap that's meant to be good luck, isn't it? I think Madonna kept hers because she, everyone says that that's good luck, the tooth gap there. And obviously Taron's got these lovely white straight teeth, so I thought we should have a look at maybe giving him this gap, because he'll be singing a lot and we'll be seeing the front teeth a lot. So that was the other thing that I made a mental note about when I first met Taron and sort of looked at Elton's photographs. Then what was the next thing? Obviously, Elton's had so many different hairstyles sort of in his career, and sort of he's been quite sensitive about the hair as well. And I felt that we should make use of this to help tell our story. Obviously, like I said, we take him from Taron starts at about the age of 17 when he's in the fairground. With a little teddy boy hairstyle, and then we kind of take him into the Beatles era, so he kind of has a bit more of a Beatles hairstyle and another wig. And then when we came to the sort of middle section of the, once he's famous and he's made a few hits and he's gone to LA, he starts to have this sort of more blow dried hairstyle. And then the fourth hairstyle, I then decided to shave Taron's hairline and give him the male pattern sort of boarding area at the front of the hair. And then I managed to sort of talk Taron into taking some of the hair out the back of his own head as well, because I knew we were going to go underwater for that scene, for that part of the story. So I felt that was the best time, because by then we would have eyebrows, sideburns, and other makeup to deal with, and I just felt that would, if Taron would allow us to do that, that would be great to do that. And then on the fifth, the final look, when he's actually in rehab, the story kind of goes that he's kind of deteriorated a lot more through the drug and the drink and sort of being, down and out on himself. But, he falls further. So by then we've also got eye bags and crow's feet and little prosthetics to sort of show aging from the nose to the mouth line. And we used a bald cap, which kind of went right the way to halfway down the back of the head. And then we had a more balding wig so you could actually see the scalp more. Yeah, so that's quite a lot of work.
I have to imagine it must be a logistical challenge just keeping track of all these different looks, considering that movies are very rarely ever shot in sequence.
So shoot and sequence. I had a map out. I did a very clever map actually, because like I said, Elton's got so many different looks and so many posters and so many different albums that you could go by. I wanted to then streamline because I knew that we had 12 weeks to shoot the film. And I knew that we would be bouncing around on some days. We had 2 or 3 different looks. So I knew that I had to streamline my looks, which is why I decided to go with 5 looks on Karen rather than sort of give a whole array of what Elton looked like. And then the costume kind of took over there as well. So that helped us to tell that story in that way. So that there was 5 streamlined looks. And when it was the prosthetic days, we tried to, along with the first AD, tried to sort of measure out those days and hopefully sort of not have to sort of take him from young to old or the other way around. So I was very aware and very much a part of kind of working with the ADs to make sure that we tried to sort of streamline in the right way. But even so, because of locations and days that we could shoot in certain areas, we still had 2 or 3 different looks to do, which is why it was important to streamline those looks but still get the effects we wanted.
You mentioned also not wanting to get in the way of Taran's performing, because obviously there's a lot of singing and dancing in this movie. What kind of tests did you have to do before shooting to make sure that you had something that wouldn't be obtrusive to him?
We did make a little alignment for the teeth to start with, because that would have been the simplest way to do the tooth gap. And then we did a test with the bald cap as well to see how hot he got when he was bouncing around. And obviously we had one of the hottest summers in England for I don't know how many years to deal with, because we shot through the summer and we shot on quite small sets, and sometimes there'd be 3 sets in one studio, so it was very tightly packed, and so the air conditioning wouldn't be able to be on because we had smoke effect machines and all sorts. So we did have to bear all of that in mind. And also Taran is very much the kind of actor that once he goes on set, you can't really keep disturbing, because a lot of those scenes were very deep and sort of emotional. We had him dancing on stages, rolling around in beds, being carried by, on the back of, up in the air by a whole crowd of people. We had a lot to deal with, so it was very important to get that right and not sort of overly, I always feel that makeup that doesn't sort of pick up to the audience's eye always works the best, and that's why I like to make little tricks, do little tricks that kind of give you that essence of the character rather than do great big, prosthetics that, might hinder him. Obviously, if we went to an older age, we would have to use heavier prosthetics, but we did actually have quite a lot on him, even though it doesn't look, it might not pick up that much. We actually did do a lot of work on him.
From what I've heard from your costume designer, Julian Day, it sounds like those elaborate clothes that he had to wear contributed to the heat more than anything. So I guess your work might have seemed like a picnic to him after all of those diamond-encrusted shirts and things like that.
And the fact that a lot of those costumes were made from that praline material, almost like you get in wetsuits as well. The big orange outfit was so hot, and we had the hottest days of the year to deal with, and he had little little jowl pieces, and he had the nose to mouth labial lines. He had the little eye bags, and luckily because he had the helmet on, we didn't have to put the bald cap on that day. But it was quite sort of tough to kind of chase around and make sure that the public couldn't see the sweat pouring and sort of keep him intact without getting in the way.
Mm-hmm. Working with director Dexter Fletcher, what was that collaboration like, and what does he give you as a director that helps you with your job?
Well, I get on really, really well with Dexter because he's so enthusiastic, and he loves to sort of give his creatives that free hand, even though, I mean, he's very on it. He knows what you're going to produce, because obviously I showed him a lot of what I was going to do before I even did it. But, he's very collaborative, and I felt that the whole film was very collaborative, and he was very good at coming in every day, making sure everyone was okay and happy. And there was a couple of occasions where people were cast quite late, but I could call him. I felt very at ease with calling him and asking him if I felt that there was something that I wasn't sure of, or if I felt that I wanted to push something in a different direction. And he was very open to it, very open to taking on board what I was saying and what I felt. And so he's very respectful, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. So, we're an awards website, and looking at your filmography, you're an Oscar nominee for your work on Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a very different kind of movie. And I bring that up for two questions, really. Number one, what does that recognition mean for you? And I should say that, for this film, you've gotten 3 Makeup and Hairstylist Guild nominations, so congratulations on that. But also, that kind of intensive character makeup and hairstyling, what for you is more difficult? Coming up with something like that, or having to do something that's a little more realistic, and obviously something like this where you're recreating a person who everybody knows very well?
I always feel that that's harder in a way to do that, because you haven't got such a free hand. You have got you've got people that know him. He's alive still. He's got this massive following. So it was very important to get somewhere, that was comfortable for them, that I would think that they would be pleased to see as well. So it was very important, not only for Taron to feel happy and for Dexter to feel happy, but for that whole fan base. So I feel that it's quite an intense sort of, it's quite intense to sort of feel that pressure and make sure that you don't overdo it. That's one of my work ethics, is that I love to do stuff that's quite subtle and very sort of, it's not in your face, so people don't notice it's there, but it's still there. There was a lot of work on Dexter, on Taron, even when he was young. He still had little eyebrow pieces that I blended into his own little eyebrows. He had little sideburn pieces. He had different hair. He had quite a lot, and I used quite a lot of shading and highlighting as well, which might not be obvious to the public, but it really helped to make him look younger and make him look older. So it. But with Guardians of the Galaxy, it was the reason I think that everybody really loved those characters as well, was because we made them look so realistic. We kind of gave them veins and blood vessels and things like that. Even with the blue, the guys that were painted in blue or green, they still looked like they were real. They were 3D. They were never a flat paint. And that was a lot of my pushing to sort of get that, because I felt that the flat paints had already been done on other, like X-Men and other situations. And so I felt that with Guardians of the Galaxy, we needed to pull something else out of the bag and do another hat trick. And I think that's why everyone felt it was so gritty, and so it felt real, and those characters came to life really well. For I think that was one of the reasons. And so even though, I feel that making somebody who's sort of in the public eye and everyone knows is difficult, I think, they all come together in that sense, that we tried to make Guardians of the Galaxy, even though they were aliens and they were different colours, they still felt really 3D, didn't they? They felt real. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why people loved them, because they did actually feel like they were real. They weren't just a blue paint job.
Mm-hmm. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your work. I think you really did an excellent job capturing the essence of Elton John. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.